Hello, good evening, and welcome to the United Stand. My name is Levin2K, and I'm here to bring you all the latest Manchester United news. And there has been plenty of news today. Of course, it started off as a bit of a slow day, but we had Romano. Shout out to Beth, by the way. Beth did that amazing interview with Romano, which wasn't easy to do, stepping into Mark's shoes for a day. Never easy to do, I can promise you that. What I will say, though, is that the focus of today's show, is going to be on some of the outgoings that need to be made, because we did get some updates on potential outgoings and what needs to happen. Of course, if you have seen the thumbnail, you'll sort of see the idea and get an idea of the kind of players we're talking about when we refer to potential outgoings. Now, I think the one name who has been on our hearts and our minds all summer long has obviously been Jesse Lingard. Now, I want to start off by saying, look, I don't dislike Jesse. I'm sure you in chat don't dislike Jesse. Jesse Lingard, he's a nice guy. He seems like a nice guy, very marketable guy, very likable guy as well. Now, when I saw Jesse go play for West Ham last season, I was so happy for him. I was really happy for him because it was an opportunity for him to get first team football. He actually, impressed when he got the opportunity. He looked like a top player. He looked like he was about to make a push to get into that Euro squad for England. And so, you look at the spell he had with West Ham and you sort of think to yourself, this is clearly what you need. This is exactly what you needed for your career. You need to be playing week in, week out for these kind of teams. That's what you need to be doing. Unfortunately for us, though, it does seem as if, things aren't moving in that direction where he is going to be making a move. Now, there was an update from, I believe it was from James Tucker. I'll get up here for you now and I'll read it to you. Where's the tweet now? Where's the tweet? Can't fumble this one, can I? It was from Sky Sports News, who essentially said West Ham now believe they only have a 10% chance of re-signing Jesse Lingard from Manchester United. Lingard is valued at 30 million, and that's with 1 year left on his contract. Now, I know Mark does the whole percentages thing. That's not me. I'm not going to, try jump on that. But, a 10% chance. If West Ham feel like they have a 10% chance, look, we were 90% club with Sancho last summer. And how did that go? So if West Ham think they got a 10% chance, it's not looking good. It's not looking good whatsoever. But, it's one of these things where you think to yourself, hold on a minute. So what's actually going on here? Why isn't there a chance? What's the problem? Now, instantly, you look at the price tag, £30 million for Jesse Lingard, who has 1 year left on his contract. Now, I'm not, a transfer expert. I'm not an executive at a top football team in Europe. Jesse Lingard is not valued at 30 million with 1 year left on his contract. Now, look, you can argue with me about how good he was, and you can argue with me about, how impressive he's been and how marketable he is and all this and all that. With 1 year left on his contract, he's not worth 30 million. He genuinely is being priced out of a deal. Like if Man United are receiving phone calls from teams saying, yo, we want to sign Lingard, by the way, we'll give you, 20 odd million, 15 million, 15 to 25 in that range. If Man United are getting calls like that and they're ending the phone call going, nah, we want 30, by the way, 30 or nothing, it is incredibly unfair. That is incredibly unfair, because what team is paying 30 million for Lingard with 1 year left in his contract? It doesn't even make sense, right? You look at how much we essentially were able to get Varane for and how cheap that sort of deal was with Varane having 1 year left on this deal. There's no way, if you told me Lingard was valued at 30 million and he had 7 years on his contract, right? If he signed a lifetime deal like Sal did a couple years ago, yeah, for sure, 30 mil, cool. But with a year left on his contract, 30 mil, it doesn't make sense. It honestly doesn't make sense. And the problem is, right? The problem is when you have a player who maybe has been priced out of a deal, oftentimes that can cause a rift, right? That can cause an issue potentially. The problem with this is that it doesn't even seem like there's an issue, because I think Jesse genuinely is fine with staying at Manchester United, and I can't blame him. I can't blame him. He's in love with the club. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, yeah, you have to just look at it from a human's perspective. He is in love with Manchester United, just like I am, just like you are. So he doesn't want to leave. I can definitely see that, especially if he has Ollie assuring him, look, you were impressive for West Ham. You will get a chance to play. You're not going to play week in, week out, but you will get a chance to play and fight for your spot. That's a reasonable thing that Ollie could be telling him. And if Ollie's telling him that, I can see why Lingard wouldn't want to leave. I could definitely see why Lingard wouldn't want to leave. But, it just becomes a question of, his ambition and what's really good for him, because he has ambition. I'm sure he wants to play in the World Cup next year. He's not going to play in the World Cup if he's sitting on our bench. He was phenomenal for West Ham for half a season, and he didn't even make the cut. He didn't even make the cut, right? So, I really, hope this is resolved at some point, because, as much as we're not going to get loads and loads of money from all the players that potentially need to leave, Lingard would be the one where you'd expect us to probably, make the most off of him. So we got a super chat here from Srin, who says, with Lingard staying at the club, he's effectively retiring from international duty, won't get used and lose his value. His mental health issues will resurface. Now, I wouldn't, wish that upon anybody. I hope, his mental health stays intact, and I hope he's, he's good as a person. I hope he's happy and confident in his life as a whole. But in terms of the first part of that, where you're talking about him essentially retiring from international duty, yeah, that's what that would be. That is what that would be, because he's not getting picked for England. And it's clear he wants to get picked for England. Did you guys see that post he made where he was like, on the post, he wrote out his goals for the year, right? And he wrote out his goals for when he signed for West Ham. And one of his main goals was to make it to the Euros, to get picked for that team. Or was it to get to World Cup? One of them was to play for England. One of his goals was to play for England. Jesse, you're not playing for England sitting on our bench. It's not going to happen. And as much as he's a great player, as much as he has something to offer, he has something to offer, I just don't think it's right for him to be here. And I don't think he should be looking to offer that here at United. But I can never fault somebody for loving the club, because I love the club. I wouldn't want to leave if I was a player. If I was a player and people were saying, if anything, yeah, it's probably worse that a lot of fans actually like Lingard. The fact that I'm sitting here saying, I love Lingard, man, he's a nice guy, but it's probably time for him to leave. Like, if I was a player, that would hurt me more. I'd rather you just hate me and want me to get out of the club. But, fans love him. He loves the club. He's thinking, so why do people want me to leave? Do you know what I mean? So, it is weird, but at the same time, it's just like, it's a balance between, you love something, but is it really what's good for you? Is it really what's best for you as an individual in your career? In this case, I don't think it is. I don't think his love for United is worth sacrificing a potential international career and just sacrificing an opportunity to show the world that he's a baller. Because we saw it at West Ham, he can be a baller in the right system, in the right circumstance. I don't think that right system and circumstance is Manchester United. The style of play at West Ham is very much different. The opportunity he's getting as a West Ham player to shine are very much different from the type of opportunities in an actual in-game scenario that he's going to get at United. It's very concerning to me, because you look at the friendly we just had, right, where Pereira scored that brilliant goal. We'll get to Pereira, by the way, but we're going to quickly just wrap up on Lingard here. You look at that opportunity that Pereira got to score that long shot. Lingard took the shot on that, right? Lingard was the one that took the shot on that. That was not a good shot. That was not a good shot. That was an instance where I was looking at that and I was questioning Lingard's IQ as a player, right? I was questioning, you looked at what actually made that opportunity come to fruition, and you thought to yourself, that's not the instance where you shoot. That's where you lay it off to, in theory, who would be Luke Shaw, right? Marauding on the left, right? Obviously, it wasn't actually Luke Shaw, but those are the in-game scenarios you look at and you think to yourself, yeah, it's not going to work out for you here, Lingard. You're not going to fit into the system the way, we need you to. And that doesn't mean you're a bad player. You just don't fit in the system. That happens sometimes. Great players don't fit in certain systems. That is just the nature of what happens. And so I am at the point where, Lingard, I really think Lingard needs to be one of the first people who is sort of moved on and moved on in a mutual sort of, pleasant way. Another super chat that came in here from my guy Shrin, who said, I'm not wishing it on Lingard either. When you can't do what you enjoy, you start doubting yourself. That does not help. He was enjoying football in West Ham. Understood, man. Understood. We got a super chat here from Eric saying, any reports that Varane has arrived to England today? No, but there was something from Samuel Luckhurst that I'll get into. I think Samuel Luckhurst said something along the lines of, Varane looking to do promo shoots and stuff by the weekend, which seems like a bit of a long time, but I don't know the ins and outs of what's happening. Hopefully we can get something a lot clearer and more concrete by the morning tomorrow on that one. Dark Mike Music Group says, wildcard Lingard as a flipping now, man. You baited me in there. You've actually baited me in there. Wild card. Lingard as a CDM. Scholes did it. Gerrard did it. Keane too. All started further forward. Oh, come on, man. I just, I appreciate the super chat, brother. I do appreciate the super chat, but let's not do this. Come on. Let's not do this. I'm having a bad day. I was playing Football Manager. I lost to Leicester 2-0, so I'm not in the best of moods. But let's not do this now. Lingard is a CDM. Let's. I like the theory crafting, but that's not where you've ended up there. I like how you began the thinking process, but where you ended up, I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that. But keep coming in with them. Keep coming in with if you guys got some cool theories and whatnot. I'm always open to hear it. I love talking about football, but we could sit here for a long time and talk about why Lingard is not going to be playing as a CDM anytime soon. Anytime soon. Moving on though, because I think the next person in that pecking order, right? This is nice. We got a little list going on there. So what? Lingard at the top of the list of people who I think needs to be moved out. Second on that list to me, it has to be Andreas Pereira. It has to be. It just has to be. And I don't have the same sort of endearment with Pereira that I do to Lingard. I don't dislike Pereira though. But he has to be out the door. He has to be out the door. And I think he's actually more so than Lingard has accepted that, right? He's accepted that more so that it probably is time for him to leave. And because there was a report from James Ducker, once again, scrolling through all the tweets, it does get difficult. Andreas Pereira would prefer a permanent move this summer, a feeling shared by Manchester United as they attempt to raise funds. Can we get some claps in chat? Can we get some claps in chat? That is good. Pereira wants a permanent move. The feeling is mutual on United's side. Now get him the permanent move. Just get it done. Let's stop all the higgy-hagger. We ain't got to deal with all that. Get him out the door. The one problem I have with United at the summer, this summer is that it felt like there was real change at the club in terms of the transfers and how things were approached in that sense, right? Because we had two main targets, two top targets in Sancho and Varane. We came into the summer and we got them done quickly. But now the rest of the business feels like it's dragging out. And, you look at clubs who are, top clubs who are efficient clubs, and you want us to be that. You got to keep it going. You got to go all the way. Don't do the first bit well, and then, the second bit, leave it off, slouch off. You don't do that. Do you know what I mean? You don't do that. And I really hope, we aren't going to drag out all of the outgoings and whatnot until, the transfer deadline day. Because it does feel like we're moving towards that point where everything is just going to drag out all the way until the transfer deadline day. And we can't afford to do that, because I think what people forget is these outgoings aren't just, us clearing deadwood, clearing wage bill. We're trying to raise funds to get a CDM at the end of the day. We're trying to raise funds to purchase a holding midfielder so that we're not going into next season with a gaping hole in our team. That's why we're doing it. And so I really do hope Pereira, who acknowledges the fact that it's probably time for a permanent move, United acknowledges the fact that it's probably time for a permanent move, does not just sit around until the transfer deadline day, all close to it. No. He needs to be out the door in the next couple of weeks. I don't know what the potential suitors for Pereira are, and so maybe that's an obstacle, you sort of have to climb. But Pereira's not an awful player. I'm not going to sit here and say I was watching him at Lazio, and I know you weren't, so let's not act like that. But it's not. I'm sure he's not a nothing player. There were reports that Lazio wanted him back on loan. I don't want to see him go on loan again. I want to see him out the door permanently. So, he must be a something. And if he's a something, you can get something for him, surely. Do you know what I mean? So hopefully we can finally get something for Pereira. Hopefully that actually progresses into him being out the door. Amir coming in with a super chat saying, we have to sell the deadwood. Unfortunately, I don't think Ollie and his backroom has the ruthlessness to let go of Mata, Jonesy, Lingy, Nemanja. Lift it up. Nemanja. Oh, God. Well, speaking of Nemanja and Jonesy, I don't know, man. I've just sat here and I've spoken about getting rid of Lingard and getting rid of Pereira, and we talked about that, blah, blah, blah. When it comes to Phil Jones, what is actually happening? Because I saw a picture today of Phil Jones on the plane with the team, or getting off the plane with the team. Phil Jones is about. Yeah, Phil Jones is about. But he's not about at the same time. Like, where has he been? Because, you know, I, I don't get it with Phil Jones, man. I'll be honest, I don't get it. What was the injury? So, okay, somebody in chat, tell me what the injury's been that has stopped him from being anywhere. Like, he has not been anywhere. What has the injury been that has kept him out of football all this while? Like, what has it been? Because to me, I genuinely am concerned. That is not easy to deal with. Imagine being a professional footballer, one of the top clubs, a club that you've been at for so many years, and like you've just not been able to play football for like 2 years or something mad. Like, it's been so long since I've seen Phil Jones play football. I can't even remember the last time I saw Phil Jones play football. Do you know what I mean? So, what was the injury? I'm seeing people say foot injury, pink boots. Oh my! I just keep walking right into them. I hope pink boots was not the cause of injury. Toe injury and his knee, ruptured Achilles. Like, he's dealt with some, horrible injuries that are very hard to recover from. And I think, once you start getting towards his age, I believe Phil Jones is only about 29. So he's not even that old, right? But so I'm not even trying to say that age in like a bad way, but it's like, once you start getting towards his age and you start getting these injuries piling on, mentally, that is so tough to deal with. And so the one thing I will say, as much as we all sit here and we laugh about Phil Jones and we joke about him, the one thing we have to say is, props to him, because as an athlete, that cannot be easy to deal with. Hands up. As an athlete, that cannot be easy to deal with. And I think the big problem that we will face when it comes to getting rid of Phil Jones is that fact right there. The fact that it's been so hard for him to deal with, the fact that he's been part of the club, which is, our family. He's been part of our family for so long, and he's had to deal with probably the hardest period of time in his life. I don't see us letting him go. Just as a result, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to think of an example of where this has happened in the past, but I just feel like the club are gonna just approach Phil Jones in the mindset of like, let's take care of him. Like, Phil's been here for a long time. He's been a hard worker, blah, 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 this, blah, 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 that. Let's take care of him. I think that's the main issue we will have when it comes to getting rid of Phil Jones, because I think at the end of the day, it's true. Phil Jones needs to be out. The reality is Phil Jones does need to go. If you're not looking at it from a personal sense, if you're just looking at it as X's and O's, Phil Jones is someone that needs to be out of the door. That is the reality. It's much easier for us to see it that way, though. And the reality is it's much easier for us to see it that way because the people who are working with Phil Jones, the backroom staff, the executives behind the scenes, they actually have personal relationships with Phil Jones, right? And so I can very much see a world where United, take the mentality of let's take care of Phil. He's been a servant of the club. Let's take care of him. He's going through a rough time. It's not the right thing to do to just dish him out there into the world. I can definitely see that. And that is obviously going to make it incredibly difficult for us to get anything from him. And either way, I don't know what we'd get for Phil Jones. With Phil Jones, it's just a matter of, getting his wages off the wage bill. Because what is Phil Jones's transfer value? What is the transfer value of somebody who realistically wasn't that good of a centre-back anyway, but then hasn't played football for 2 years and is on a massive contract? Like, what is the transfer value for that guy? Can't be a lot. It can't be a lot. So, yeah, as much as Phil Jones is on that list of, the people that need to go, I don't see the pathway. I can see the pathway with Pereira. He wants to leave. The club knows he wants to leave. Perfect. Lingard. He probably doesn't want to leave, but he probably realizes it's best for him to leave. The club probably realizes that as well. He leaves. Phil Jones. Silence. The club. We love you, Phil Jones. Stays. Doesn't really work, does it? Doesn't really work. Someone said £5. Look, honestly, if I can sign, I will start a football club. I'll call it Leven FC. I will sign Phil Jones. If he's available for £5, I will sign Phil Jones. I can't pay his wages, but I would sign Phil Jones. Happily. Bag of crisps. What flavor? It depends. You know what? Yeah, you can say bag of crisps, but it actually does depend on what flavor of crisp. Like, what is the actual brand of the crisp? That is very key. That is a very key detail. Look, beyond just Phil Jones, though, there is obviously Nemanja Matic, as somebody said earlier with the super chat. We got another chat actually coming in here from Callum, who says, we want another centre-back Koulibaly and play Varane CDM. No. Oh no. Let's not do this Varane CDM stuff. I don't want to hear this tonight. I appreciate the chat, but I just don't think we should be looking at playing Varane as a CDM and trying to bring in another centre back. We should be bringing in an actual holding midfielder to do that role for us. You know, that's one of the big problems I have with Saul, for example. Saul is somebody who has the ability to play as a DM, as a holding midfielder. He's not played that role in a long time, or regularly at all. So if that's my stance on Saul, I am not open for Varane as a holding midfielder when he's just not done it like that. I can very much see, maybe you see the potential in him to do that role. You know, props to you. You're a better man than me. You know, you're much more optimistic than me, but that's just not a good footballing decision in my eyes. Not a good footballing decision. Evening, Suzanne. Shout out to all the mods, by the way. Shout out to all the mods. Shout out to all the people watching in the live chat as well. You know, like and subscribe if you want to. You know, I can't really make you, but if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like it. I was reading the comments from the morning show today, and somebody comments, the United stand make better signings than Manchester United by bringing in Levin. And someone replies to it going, nah, Varane and Sancho are better. And I'm like, yeah, to be fair, yeah, Varane and Sancho, I'd rather take that, to be fair. But I do appreciate all the love you guys have shown me while joining the channel. It's been a fun ride. Not been an easy one, but it's been a fun one. And as we continue on this journey, hopefully, you know, we can finally get to the season and actually talk about, you know, football, and we're not going to be worrying about all these, you know, incomings and outcomings. We'll just be able to focus on the actual fixtures. You know, things should get even more fun. 11 for CDM. I could do the job. I'm 6'8". You know, I'm still quite quick. You know, I got great vision. I think, you know, my long range ball progression probably isn't as good as, you know, someone like Neves or anything, but I could definitely recycle the play and recycle the ball, play balls into Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw to carry it forward. I could do that. I could definitely do that. Guys, Matic though. Matic is probably a better DM than me. So we'll talk about Matic. I don't know what happened to Matic last season. And these are the things we need explanation. You know, there's plenty of things we need explanations about when it comes to our club, but this is one of them. What was going on with Matic last season? I think the assumption is, you know, he's gotten to that stage in his career where he just isn't able to play week in, week out. And so that just happened. Like, I think maybe the lack of a preseason did really affect him in particular. And because the season was, you know, just the games are coming thick and fast, Ollie was never really able to integrate him. I think that's really what the issue probably was, because you look at Matic during the lockdown games, Matic was great. Matic was great for us, playing alongside Pogba. You know, Bruno was doing well. Like, that system works so well. I feel like people forget it, right? Because the lockdown games were just so weird. But, you know, during that lockdown stretch, we were I'm pretty sure during lockdown, in terms of actual points accumulated during lockdown in the Premier League, we were like top of the league, I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'm wrong. Somebody can correct me if you remember. But I just don't know why Matic was just obsolete. And I just have to assume that the lack of a preseason meant he was never able to get right in time for the season. And when the season came along, because the games are coming in so thick and fast, Ollie just couldn't integrate him. Obviously, this summer that changes, and that means, you know, maybe Matic is more of an option, and maybe Ollie does see Matic as being part of the plans because Matic will be ready to play. Maybe that's a possibility. But if it's not a possibility, if Matic isn't actually going to be part of the plans, if Matic isn't going to be getting game time, if Matic is going to play the same role he essentially played last season, he needs to be out the door. I'm pretty sure Matic is on about 120k, 140k a week, something like that. Not for me, Nyamanja. Not for me. Lovely guy, lovely fellow. Just not for me if he's on 120k a week and he's not going to be playing. That's just the reality. And so, you know, of course, there were the links to Roma. We all know there's always links to Jose and Matic. Wherever Jose is, Matic will be linked to that team. And I think in general, he's always just been linked to the Serie A because he'd go there and he'd do well. Based off of what Fabrizio said earlier today, talking to Beth, it doesn't seem like that's going to be a thing. You guys can go back and watch that show, by the way. So, you know, go show some love on that video. It was a great video, great interview. Fabrizio essentially said, look, with Roma and Xhaka transfer talks breaking down, yes, Roma are looking for new options for that role, a role that obviously Matic can play. but Matic isn't like the top target. Matic isn't someone that Roma are now actively going after, right? You know, it seems like they are still evaluating their targets. And so it doesn't really seem there's any suitors for Matic. I don't see, there's not a long list of suitors for Matic, is the problem. And there might not even be an opportunity for that to be a thing, because if Oli does actually plan on using Matic now in a way he wasn't last season, if Oli wants to use Matic the way he did during lockdown, then I just don't see Matic leaving. I don't see him leaving. And that would be concerning, because that could hinder our chance of actually getting a DM, because, you know, if things drag out, if we're not able to raise the funds, you know, I'm sure Oli would just be like, yeah, you know, I got Matic and Fred, they can rotate in that position, which would be not ideal, even though we did play well during lockdown. And in theory, right, we played really well during those lockdown games, right? With Matic, Pogba, Bruno in the midfield. Now you add Sancho to that team and Varane. Like, that is a very good team. That is a team that can challenge for the title if Matic is actually able to play week in, week out, and he's not like burnt. That's a good enough team to challenge. But we can't rely on that. Like, we just can't rely on that. And I think it's fair if you don't accept that. If you're someone that thinks, no, man, no, I'm not, no, Matic, no. Fair. That is fair. Because we just didn't see him last season. When we did see him, it wasn't anything spectacular. It wasn't, you know, he didn't set the world alight. And, you know, no holding midfielder is really ever going to do that. But you sort of get what I'm getting at. You know, it wasn't really great. And yes, guys, I am actually 6'8" for the people wondering. I am 6'8". And I've seen people spamming in the chat, 7 foot, 6'8". What do you think my voice is so deep, guys? I'm massive. It's the reason I have a deep voice. No, I don't use a voice changer. And if you don't like my voice, do one. Matic is too old. We need new blood, says Chris. Look, I can see that. I can see that. Because at the end of the day, even if that's a great point. That's a great point, Chris. Because even if you are going to move Matic into that role and use Matic, there's no longevity in that. You are actually going to have to replace him anyway, very, very soon. So we need to bring someone into that holding midfield spot. We need to bring someone in. In terms of Matic being moved out, I just don't see it right now. That's my point. I'm not. I don't see the pathway, right? So in conclusion, in terms of the people on the thumbnail, we'll talk about more. There's some more potential outgoings, right? But in terms of the 4 people on the thumbnail, Lingard, I can see a pathway to Lingard being out. Pereira, I can see a pathway to Pereira being out. Phil Jones, I don't see the pathway. Matic, I don't see the pathway. And that's not good. I need a 4 out of 4. I need a 4 out of 4 on that. But that's just how it is. That's just how it is at the moment. We've seen the United son in chat. Shout out Ryan and all them, man. Shout out all them, man, in the chat. Shout out everybody. Everyone's going crazy, man. I know. You never met someone this tall. You know, hopefully, you know, once the world's in a better place, we can do some link ups and all that, because I'd love to meet the people. I'd love to meet the people. All right, let's take it easy, guys. Let's take it easy. Come on, behave. You know, I know it's getting late, but let's behave, guys. Let's behave. Moving forward, there are more people who I think potentially will need to be moved on. You could definitely see a world where these people do get moved on. One of the names that's been thrown into the hat is obviously Diogo Dalot. Diogo Dalot has been thrown into that hat of people who potentially will go now. I feel like what Romano said about Dalot has been very, it's been very repetitive, right? He constantly goes on about the fact that Dalot is obviously admired by AC Milan. They want him back, but there is sort of a roadblock there. United want the loan fee that United essentially want for Dalot, along with a buy option, isn't something, you know, AC Milan looking into. It's not something they're very interested in. And the Telegraph, James Ducker from the Telegraph actually came out and said AC Milan would like to re-sign Dalot. Pardon me, sorry. They'd like to re-sign Dalot on a temporary basis after a successful loan with the Serie A club last season. Kieran Trippier hopes to move to Manchester from Atletico this month. He said that today. I'm fine with Dalot staying. Trippier is the better player. Trippier would provide better backup. Trippier would provide more dynamism in our attack. I could sit here and give you the analysis on Trippier. Should I sit here and give you the analysis of Trippier? I'll paint a picture in your mind, okay? Let me paint a picture in your mind. Okay, so we're attacking down the left. Luke Shaw has the ball on the left, passes it to Rashford. Rashford starts to take someone on one-on-one. Luke Shaw looks for the overlap, but he can't quite get it. He can't quite get it. The angle's not quite right. Rashford decides to turn his dribble, sends it back into the midfield. He passes it back to Ruben Neves. Ruben Neves switches the ball all the way to the right. Sancho's cutting in. He brings the left back with him. Kieran Trippier standing out on the right. First time cross, back post, Cavani heads it in. Oh my goodness. Oh my good. We're playing football. We are playing football at that point. Do you know what I mean? And now you might think, what is this brother waffling about? What is this guy going on about? The key detail there was the Kieran Trippier first time cross. Wan-Bissaka's improved. Wan-Bissaka's improved going forward. Wan-Bissaka has improved with his crossing ability. We saw it with the assist that he got in the recent game we played where Langer did a great finish. But Wan-Bissaka ain't at a point yet where he's making first time crosses that are actually good. Kieran Trippier gives you that. Kieran Trippier has great crossing ability, right? And the thing about us is we struggle against the low block. We struggle against the low block. We struggle in those sort of games where we're trying to break down a low block. And having fullbacks who have the ability to make great first time crosses is very effective against low blocks, right? Because what often happens with a low block is that you're trying to shift. You're shifting the low block across, right? You're shifting them across. You're shifting them left and right. So if you can make them shift towards the left and quickly switch the ball, then hit a first time cross in, they're going to be unsettled. And then you have, danger, actual danger there. Wan-Bissaka doesn't allow you to do that in an effective way, more times than not. Kieran Trippier does. It's the reason why Luke Shaw's so dangerous, right? Luke Shaw's first time crosses last season were brilliant. I'm sure if you actually go back, a lot of Luke Shaw's assists from crosses last season were just these first time crosses, right? You don't get that from Wan-Bissaka, and we're missing out on that. We need someone who can do that. I don't know if Diogo Dalot can do that well. I know Kieran Trippier can, and that's the argument for Kieran Trippier, right? That is the argument. That's where people who are saying we should go after Trippier, that's the angle a lot of the time they're coming from, because Trippier offers us a lot more going forward in that sense. Now, the problem with Trippier, obviously, that we've run into is that it doesn't seem like it's going to be an easy or a simple deal to do. It seems like Atletico are trying to hold him hostage, or at least, hike up the price quite a bit, which isn't ideal for us, because a deal like this is the kind of deal, you want it to be short, snappy, cheap, because he's 30 or something. Like, you want that to be a quick, cheap deal. It doesn't look like it's going to be that way. And if it's not going to be that, I'm not interested. You walk. Atletico, you guys can sit there on your high horse, but we'll walk away. And if we are walking away, then that leaves us in a position where Diogo Dalot is going to be the backup right back. And I don't know how much Diogo Dalot offers us over Wan-Bissaka. Yeah, Diogo Dalot is a bit better going forward than Wan-Bissaka, but does he offer us a different level? Does he offer us a significantly higher level in play going forward? I can't, I can't put my life on it that he does, right? If you've watched a lot more of Dalot at AC Milan last season, maybe you can correct me on that. But I don't believe, from what I've looked at, I don't believe he does. And so it looks like we'll probably end up with Dalot as a backup right back. However, if we do sell Dalot, then at least we're probably going to be pushing for Trippier or right back. It doesn't seem like Dalot's getting moved on. AC Milan are clearly interested, but it doesn't seem like anything is advanced or moving towards that stage where we're going to see Dalot out of the club anytime soon. And so if you're someone who wants Dalot to be gone, doesn't look like it's going to be happening. I'll be honest. It just doesn't look like it's going to be happening. Moving forward, I think those are the sort of five. I think those are the 5 players that you'd probably want to see transferred. Those are the 5 players you'd probably want to see transferred. In terms of loanees, I think we'll get to loanees. I'll read some comments though. I'll read some comments because it's very polarizing at the moment. I'll put my life on it. Fair enough. You know what? Big man. Where is it? Guys, XX LVC, or I'm guessing your name's supposed to be Lucifer. He'd put his life on it. He'd put his life on it. So fair enough to him. Look, I'm like Manera says in chat. I'm fine if Dalot stays. Maybe I'm even happy if Dalot stays. I don't think it's a massive deal who the backup right back is. That's not my point of concern at the moment. Maybe it will be down the line. Maybe Wan-Bissaka doesn't improve significantly and we are questioning that right back position. But at the moment, I'm not as much. I'm just not, quite frankly. I think the problem with Wan-Bissaka this last season, a lot of the time, when it comes to going forward at least, is that off the right, the play that's going off the right it wasn't magnificent, right? It's the reason why we focus a lot of our play off the left. Greenwood a lot of the time is cutting inside because he wants to be in positions where he can shoot on either his left or right. There's not much play going on between Greenwood and Wan-Bissaka, whereas in theory there's going to be play going on between Sancho and Wan-Bissaka. They're going to have to form a great relationship, both South London boys, which is a good thing. Maybe they'll be able to connect on that kind of level. So I'm hopeful of improvement there significantly, and I'm hopeful of a partnership developing there, especially because with Sancho on the right, it allows Wan-Bissaka to play a more supportive role where he isn't the primary focus. And so in that example I gave, right, in that example I talked about, Ruben Neves switching it right and whatnot, maybe that doesn't have to be Wan-Bissaka in that position where Trippier was. Maybe that can be Sancho, right? Maybe Wan-Bissaka makes an underlapping run and then Sancho's out wide to cross it into Cavani, right? We've seen him do that with Haaland at Dortmund, and so we know he's good at that. So, you can see that there's an adjustment there. Things can work out differently. And I think I'm willing to be patient with Wan-Bissaka when it comes to seeing what he's able to do going forward. I'm not too concerned about that. And defensively, of course, with Varane coming in, I expect improvement there when it comes to defending set pieces and him, losing his man at the back post. I do expect improvement, and I think there will be improvement there. So if you're Wan-Bissaka doubter, there's reason to be optimistic in that sense. And of course, if you are going to be a lot more optimistic about Wan-Bissaka, you're probably not too concerned about whether you get Trippier or whether it's Deleuze. You're probably fine with either one. Swap Deleuze and Pereira for Neves. Well, look, Deleuze fits in with the club culture, of course. But they did just sign Semedo last season, and so I don't think they're in the market for a right back. Van, defensive midfielder, Beek. Let's not start this Van de Beek CDM stuff again. Look, maybe he can do it. And actually, no, I will start it again, because in the morning show, I mentioned how I thought, I don't think Van de Beek has shown me that he can play in that role yet. And I got people in the comments going, "Oh, Lemon, what do you mean he can't play in that role? If he doesn't get a chance to show you can play in that role, how can you say that?" The reason I say that is because when you look at Van de Beek's strengths as a player and match that to the type of holding midfielder people may want him to be, because what's happened here is that people are looking at the type of midfielder we want in Ruben Neves, and they're going, "Well, hold on a minute, I think Van de Beek could do that." It's not that simple. I know they're both great on the ball, and so maybe it's it gets lost in translation there. Long range ball progression. Van de Beek's long range ball progression is not magnificent. It's not bad. Probably quite decent. It's not magnificent. His ability to read the game on a defensive level and hold his position in the midfield, he's not shown he can do that. He played in a pivot last season, and I believe he played next to Matic, and in that game, his average position was one of even a cam. He looked like he was playing number 10 in the game where he was playing as a DM, because he likes to roam and get forward. You need someone who's disciplined and who can sit in that hole and understands that they need to sit in that hole. You need someone who defensively has great anticipation, who reads the game well, who can be quite aggressive in the tackle, which Van de Beek can be, but he's never shown me that he's this guy that reads the game well on a defensive level. He hasn't shown me that. You know what I mean? And so there are skills that I could see from him, and that would maybe make me think he can do that holding midfield role a lot better. And sure, if he gets put in that position and Ollie actually trusts him and he does it, sure. And I'll clarify this by saying, I'm talking about doing it as a single pivot, not in a double pivot. I do believe Van de Beek can play in a double pivot as a holding midfielder. Of course he can, because he has that freedom to potentially roam forward at times, right? But I'm talking about as a single pivot where you don't have the freedom to roam forward, because then we have no, defensive midfield. He doesn't have that freedom playing as a single pivot, and he's not showing me he can do that yet. That's the difference for me. That's the difference for me. Tuanzebe is a CDM. It's funny. I feel like all the whole show has just been about is, this person is a CDM. This person is a CDM. To be fair though, Tuanzebe is a CDM is not the worst one. That's not the worst one. That's one I think he has actually played a couple games at DM. I'm just, he's a different type of DM to the type of DM that we've been talking about over the past couple of days with Saul and Neves and and potentially even Van der Beek. Doesn't mean that's a bad thing. I think people are, I did a show with Mark where, we both were very much advocating for Ruben Neves, and, I sold the idea on what kind of a midfielder we need and why that's very much different to what people may think we need. That doesn't mean that different types of CDMs are bad. It doesn't mean that an anchor man or a halfback type CDM is bad. That doesn't mean that at all. It just means, you have to change the system a bit depending on what kind of DM you have. The type of DM Tuanzebe is, you'd have to change things up a bit. And I don't think he's good enough at that role as a holding midfielder for it to warrant the switches up or the potential switches up, right? So that's sort of where I stand on that one. Tuanzebe is off to Villa, hopefully. Cavani is a DM, says Tom. Shout out Tom, man, legend. Yano Black needs to replace De Gea. I don't know where that's coming. I've not seen anybody mention the goalkeeper the whole show, but that's a cool one. Anyway, well, maybe we'll talk about the goalkeepers. I think there was a tweet that I was interested in. What did I want to talk about the goalkeepers? Oh, Dean Henderson's potentially having long COVID. That was something that came out. It looks like De Gea will be starting the season. Dean Henderson returned to training 3 weeks ago and is understood to have missed the Derby and QPR games due to COVID. And that's coming from Samuel Luckhurst and the Manchester Evening News. There is a concern that the effects of COVID are affecting Dean Henderson, and I hope he does recover. I hope he gets well soon. You hate to see that. Obviously, the pandemic's been awful for everyone, and it's a shame that we're still having to deal with COVID. It doesn't seem like a keeper's going. Romano was talking to Beth today, and when Romano was talking to Beth about the goalkeeper situation, Romano essentially almost confirmed. He can never confirm at this stage, right? Because like he always will say, he's not the CEO. If the CEO just wakes up tomorrow and decides to do something, then obviously things change. But he essentially did sort of confirm, like, we're going into the season with both of these keepers. Nobody's getting sold. It doesn't even look like anyone's getting sold or being, moved to be sold. And De Gea is like the unsellable one, right? De Gea is like the most unsellable player in the Premier League, maybe. De Gea might actually be the most unsellable player in the Premier League. And that's not like a bad thing, because it doesn't say anything about him as a player, but just in terms of his contract situation and everything, like, he might be the most unsellable player. And so you have De Gea, who's realistically unsellable. Now you have Dean Henderson, who's injured. You're not selling Dean Henderson. He's injured. He might have long COVID. No one's buying him now. Yeah, we're going into the season with Dean Henderson, David De Gea, Lee Grant, and Tom Heaton. That's it. That is it. Pauline Campbell says, come on, Jamaica. Love to everybody watching from Jamaica. Type in the chat, guys, where you're watching the show from, by the way. Let me know where you're watching from. I am based in London, in the United Kingdom, but let me know where you're watching from. I know we got a global audience. Whenever I get followed on Twitter by people, I always like to see where people are from. You always see like the maddest countries, the maddest places. It's always interesting. Can Dean Henderson play as a CDM? Hey, look, if Dean Henderson wants to lace it up as a CDM, I'll hear that. I will hear that. Getting the spam now. Kenya, Syria, Dublin, Nepal, Nigeria. Shout out Nigeria. My dad's from Nigeria. Shout out all the people. Them got people from London, Mumbai, Saudi Arabia, Wales, Macedonia. Damn, South Africa. Wow, crazy. This is never going to end now. Is it? Like, everyone's just going to spam where they're from for the rest of the show. Eritrea. Wow, some of these places are Gloucestershire. Not as exotic as Eritrea, but I'm sure Gloucestershire's a nice place. Shout out to everyone though, man. I appreciate everyone hanging out. I like to take the evening show a bit more chill. I like to take the evening show a bit more chill. Like, when I'm on the morning show, I'm just like, oh my God, like, all these people are here for Mark. Like, bloody hell, like, I can't even crack a joke. And even though Mark can crack jokes, I don't want to crack a joke and people are like, who's this guy think he is? You know what I mean? It's a lot more frigid. But on the evening show, you just loosen it up, man. Loosen it up, take it easy. We've talked about everything, really. Once again, even with all the Romano updates, it's been a slow sort of news day. There's not been any sort of key story that is going to progress over the week. I think the only things to really look for are potentially Pereira, leaving, and maybe Lingard, like updates on Lingard. And it doesn't look like Pogba's going anywhere either. Doesn't look like Pogba's going anywhere either. But you know, that's just how it is. I think that's just how it is. It's a shame that we're moving towards a point where it looks like Manchester United of old, where you know, we're gonna take until the transfer deadline day to actually sort things out, and then we're probably not even gonna sort everything out by that point either. Like it's a shame that we've gotten to that point, but maybe I'll be proved wrong. Maybe I'll be proved wrong. Is Mark ill? No, guys, Mark is not ill. Mark is working on something. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna call people up for all you people that really love Mark. Yeah, follow him on his social media platforms, and you'll know where he is. He's been working on a project with some amazing people, and so hopefully we get to see what he's actually been working on. Because it seems like a very interesting thing. But don't worry, guys, Mark will be back. Mark will be back. But yeah, I appreciate all the love. I appreciate all the love. We got Princess Mag from Ghana. My mum's from Ghana, so I've been to Ghana a couple of times. I love Ghana. Hopefully I'll be able to travel all around the world at some point. Thank you very much for watching though, everybody. I really appreciate you guys hanging out. If you've reached this stage in the video, comment in the comment section down below. Phil Jones wears pink boots. I don't know. That's what you should comment down below. Once again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like it. It's been Levan2k. You can catch me at Levan2k on all social medias. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, wherever it is. It's Levan2k, 11 without the E, and then just the number 2 and K. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for watching. See you guys all soon.